All right, 3, 2, 1. I guarantee you I'm getting sued for that music eventually. When that band actually catches on to that's what I'm using, I'm getting sued.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought of.
I mean, it's really quick, and I did some editing to it to where hopefully I won't get like a copyright strike. But more than likely, I'm going to. So all credit goes to Modern Baseball. It's like a play on words because it's Modern Goonies, but whatever. So hello and welcome to the second episode of the Modern Goonies Podcast. I am your host, Trevor King Minor. And on the mic today, I got two really special guests. I've got my good friend Chandler, talking to the mic so people know what you sound like.
How's it going?
All right, and I got my really good friend Dub.
Howdy.
All right, we got a couple cool things that we're going to talk about, but if you haven't seen the first episode, we'll put that up sometime this week, next week. We're a week behind, so it's a little difficult. We do one every week now. So check into that. We talk about social media. We talk about the Steven Crowder Vox issue. And we talk about meeting celebrities and the proper etiquette in what goes on in those interactions. So I guess we're just going to jump right into it. So guys, how the hell have you been doing?
Surviving. Just working, going to school. That's all you can do.
Dub, it's been a hot minute since I've seen you, man. What you been up to?
Rounding up my last semester of nursing school, dude. About to graduate August 10th. Y'all better be there.
I mean, wouldn't miss it, dude.
Mark it on the calendar.
Fuck yeah.
Early morning Saturday.
That's got to be tough, dude, going through nursing school. I can only imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty rough, but, I mean, we're all book smart in school, so I got that on my side, but, most of it's like what I was talking to Zach about earlier is just picking up and learning how it really is in the hospital. And
yeah, it's all about the application. School can teach you.
Yeah, I'm sure that's how it is for just about any career you get into fresh out of college. Like, you can learn whatever it is in the school, and then when you actually go into the career field, like, you're just gonna have to learn shit anyways.
Oh yeah, it's completely different. And,
yeah,
I mean, I want to go back to school eventually, graduate school, but the books part are pretty annoying at this point. I mean, y'all went to college as well, so I'm sure you understand that part.
I'm just so fed up at this point. Like, I'm just ready to be done.
Yeah, I'm ready to work, but I know as soon as I get into work, it's going to be I'm ready for school again.
Your perception of time once you actually start working gets thrown right out the fucking window.
Yeah, you should know.
Dude, yeah, no, I've been working for 10 months now or whatever. Yeah, so school, that was all I thought about. Was I was super burnt out of school because, I mean, we've been doing it our entire lives, 21 years of fucking schooling, give or take. And then all I wanted was a job. That's it. And then the second I get into it, and I've been doing it for a little bit. So when you're in school, your whole perception of time is basically just like month to month, because it's like, this month I got this exam, and then the next month I have the next one, and then finals, and then I got Christmas break, and then we move into the next semester. So you're living month by month. But when you start a job, you don't really have any markers of time anymore. There are like months mean nothing. You blink and 2 months have passed. To me, it still feels like it's February, and it is mid-June right now, and my perception of time is just so fucked. I thought it was a cliche that old people would say, like, you blink and you're 40. It's true. You blink and holy fuck, a whole year of my life has gone by.
Yeah, you're doing 8 to 5s, if not more, right?
Generally, yeah. I typically end up staying until, I work a lot of overtime. So, yeah. 8 to about 7 o'clock on average.
Well, you got to think, like, in high school, we had, the markers, like you were talking about, summer break, Christmas break,
spring break,
holidays.
or whatever holidays is coming up. It's just always something that, like, you're setting forward to, like, at least, like, a month or, like, 2 months in advance, like, something that you're looking forward to. But when you start working, you're just like, well, I guess I look forward to my paycheck, and it just goes straight to bills, and then you have a fraction of what you made, and you're just kind of sitting in your room just like, well, this is shitty. Life kind of sucks.
Yeah, and you got like 5 holidays a year that they'll actually let you off for. So it's not like you can look forward to Christmas. No. I look forward to Christmas. That's fucking 12 months from now. That's nice.
Yeah, you look forward to telling your boss 2 months in advance that you want to take 4 days off or whatever, and you've only got like 2 weeks per year.
Yeah, no, I mean, the working life, it can be good because you finally have the money to do the shit that you want to do, like a podcast. But it sucks because all of your time is just drained.
Yeah.
Like that is your life now. Like it went from like half school, half whatever it was you wanted to do in your free time to all work, and then 4 hours maybe of free time a day.
Yeah.
Like, maybe, depending on me. I'm a night owl, so I get a good 4 hours. But you balance that with I like to work out, and then. I mean, anything that we do for our side business, Placeholder Media Production, by the way, I don't think I've said that yet. Fucking look us up. But yeah, and then anything I do after that is, so I maybe have at maximum 2 hours to myself a day. Like there's not a whole lot of time.
Yeah.
Hate to break up the flow there, but we never toasted too at the
Yeah,
start.
I noticed that. Like as soon as it did, I was like, fuck, I'm not going to bring it up. All right, so yeah, we're going to do a toast. We're supposed to do that right after the video plays, but we didn't. Fucking toast to the second Modern Goonies podcast, guys.
Let's do it.
It's good to be on the half-ass air with you. I say half-ass because we edit some of these videos. Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do for the names of these is something that one of us says during the podcast
some
will
kind
be
of
the title.
highlight.
So it'll be like Modern Goonies Podcast 2, and then it'll be like quotation marks
subtitle.
title. Yeah, the subtitle. So the subtitle is
So it's clickbait.
Legally Bound.
So I need to say something raunchy is what you're telling me.
I mean, you
Yeah.
could do it purposely, but I prefer it be just something organic that we say. All right.
It sucks with school though, because I feel the same way. Like I'm beyond burnt out on school just because we've been doing it every day for like the past 20 so odd years or whatever. But I've been working for like the past 5 years, like straight out of high school, just like full time and just keep working the whole time. And I am just as burnt out on work too.
Yeah.
Like, don't want to do anything. It sucks.
Yeah, no, it definitely, like I said, it's always a cliche, and I know it's hard to do, but a lot of people will tell you do what you love. And I think more now more than ever, now that I've been in the working world for about a year or so, it is very true. Do what you love to do if you can, or something that you legitimately enjoy, because you are doing it 90% of your time. That is your life. Your life is now to work. So whatever you're working on, try to make sure it's something you really enjoy.
Yeah.
It's so hard to do because usually whatever you want to do doesn't make money or doesn't
That's
like
true.
support you well enough to survive.
Yeah, especially if you have a really creative mindset. That for sure, like if you're an artist or something, like
Yeah, 'cause-
of course people would love to do that, but I mean you'll be starving for a little bit.
Right. I'm sure there's countless of people with like unparalleled like ideas and creativity that they got going through their head, but they can't do anything because they can't get a decent job because of so and so or whatever. It's pretty shitty.
It just sucks because it's a super
Just wasted potential.
Yeah, no, and I'm going to use the term oversaturated here, which I don't even think there's such a thing as an oversaturated amount of creative people in the world, because it's such a good thing. For people to be creative is something that's really important to do, but when there's so many people who can make amazing art, people kind of tune out because it's like, just another one of those dudes just trying to make a quick buck off of,
right,
doing this pretty painting or whatever.
It sucks that's the way it's become, especially, with social media, is like, if you're not trying to monetize your creativity, then
What's the
feel
point?
like there's no point because you have to make a buck somehow.
Right, yeah, you've now kind of, in a way, put a price on it, and there's just not a way to do that, because the best forms of creativity come out of the ones, the aspects in life that aren't pressured. It's just natural, and it's you, and it's raw emotion and how you feel. And that's actually that's one of the biggest issues that I know you and I talked about this a little bit, but with the music industry nowadays,
yeah,
it is
100%.
It's become completely soulless, because now it's where before, when you got big and famous, it was kind of like, even then you weren't really making that much. You were just doing what you love to do.
Right.
Whereas now that's your livelihood, and you can't become irrelevant, because if you become irrelevant, you don't make it.
There's someone else that's going to replace you.
Exactly.
Right there. There's so many like cycles of like new artists that you hear of, or like these so and so people that are around for like a year or so and then just kind of fade off, like type of thing.
Oh yeah, fading off has become a huge thing. It's funny because, at least with making a good album, so a lot of times bands, they'll make a good album, and they'll take about, if you're a really good band, like you're a band that takes your time on it, it'll take about 2 years, maybe 3, before the next one comes out. Well, in that amount of time, if you're in the pop world or the country world or the hip hop world, the world where music is like the most popular right now, in that amount of time,
you're so behind.
Yeah, in that amount of time, you've taken that off to make a really good album, people have forgotten about you because you're not in the spotlight all the time, and people don't care anymore.
I also feel like people don't care that much about albums anymore because like I feel like what we're at is people like a really popular single, and if it catches on, like that's what like everybody wants to listen to, like type of thing. But
right.
No one like really sits down and listens to an album like from start to finish.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that iTunes killed, really. I remember we talked about this a little bit in my marketing class. One of the genius things about iTunes when it first came out is that you no longer had to buy the entire album to listen to that one song that you were buying it for.
Right.
So that's why when iTunes became a thing, people were fighting it so hard, especially the music industry was fighting it so hard because they made their money off of people buy. Like they knew you had that one hit, you had that Paradise City in there, like that's the hit, but you had to buy the entire $10 to $15 album in order to listen to that one song. That's how they got you. It's like, you got to buy it in bundle.
Right.
Whereas now it's like, hey, I like this one song. You go in, you buy that one song. That's it.
I find myself doing that a lot. Like when when people recommend a certain song, and then I'm like, okay, well I'm gonna go listen to the album, and then I find myself liking not the song that was recommended to me.
Yeah.
It's like whatever you can relate to. I don't think I've ever really sat down and liked a full album in a very long time, if any at all.
I feel like it's an old school type of thing to like, or it's just not mainstream. I'm sure there's a lot of like less popular artists that make it, but I really love an album that like even like the way like they have like the tracks listed like has like some sort of like concept or like story that goes with it. Like a lot of that's why I like a lot of like older like Pink Floyd stuff, because a lot of it's like has like this other kind of story that goes with it where it's more than just a list of tracks like all thrown up together and it has like a cover of it and the title for an album, and it's just a compilation of songs. I
wonder if a lot of it has to do with like an ADHD type of thing, or attention span type thing, where it's like, back in the 70s and 80s, you bought a record or a CD, and it's like, well, I kind of want to listen to the whole thing, what I want to know what to expect. I want to know what's on the album. But now, like Trevor said, you can go pick and choose, and
I think that's just like a counter effect of just the way our society is now. Is we have everything that's so like instantly, like right there,
instant
like
gratification.
If you want to listen to that one song, like you can get it in 10 seconds. You can.
Dopamine. And I'm not the kind of dude who thinks instant gratification is necessarily a bad thing. However, there are definitely negative side effects of it.
I think too much of it.
Right.
When you become dependent on it, then you don't realize it really.
Playing on your point a minute ago, one of the things that I have noticed, because now you're able to listen to that one song that you want or stream that one song that you want, a lot of albums, at least the albums that are in the mainstream, I would say, have become disjointed. Because the songs that you're listening to, it's almost like what you were saying, they're basically just a collection of singles that would be hits, but there's not a real theme between the songs anymore.
Exactly.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Whereas, so like albums that I like to listen to, because I'll listen to whole albums, but there's kind of a theme throughout. Whether it's sound or what the lyrics are about, or
even just the way they transition like in between tracks.
Exactly. Yeah,
it could like if they hit like a certain like string on like a guitar or something, then like it ends like
it's seamless.
It just plays out like seamlessly throughout the two tracks.
I like that too. It's like it's a story. Like
exactly.
The Logic album. What is the one Logic album where it's like based on in the future?
I know which one you're talking about.
But something incredible story. But anyway, it's like
Incredible True Story.
Yeah.
Okay.
I liked that album a lot. I didn't necessarily like the music. I liked the songs and the way they sounded, but I just enjoyed, basically watching a movie with my ears, just going through that album.
Exactly. I love albums that string. My favorite thing in an album is when, the hell? Oh, it's our dishwasher. Is when you're listening to an album and they make callbacks to previous songs on the album, or they'll even take pieces of the songs that they sang before and incorporate it into the song that's later on in there.
What's an example of that?
An example of that would be my favorite that does shit like that is Green Day's American Idiot album. It is. It's actually, there's a name for it, and it's like an opera. It's a music opera kind of. because
Bohemian Rhapsody.
It tells an entire each song. It tells a story, and it's talking about early thousands America and the kind of post 9/11 world. So a lot of it is very politically charged, but each song builds upon the last one.
Yeah.
And as it goes along, like there's a song called Saint Jimmy or something Saint Jimmy, and he mentions Saint Jimmy like a million times in the whole album, and he'll call back to previous songs pretty much the whole way through, and it's beautifully constructed the entire time.
It's funny that you bring that album up, because the example I was going to use was Pink Floyd's The Wall album, and that's considered like the best like rock opera album of all time by most people. But I was going to say that too, because the whole like way throughout it, there's so many like subtle references like that you can use like with the wall too. It's like our backs against the wall, like up against the wall type of things, break down the wall. And if you really like sit down, like you can like pick out like the pieces to it. Like it's so beautifully written, and the way it starts, and it's really cool actually. The way it starts is like mid sentence, and it starts with like, we came in like that, and you can like barely hear it like right as you start. And on the back end of the album, like the last bit, it says, is this where? So like when you like piece it together, like right at the end it says, is this where? And then it starts over the whole album again where we came in. So it's just meant to like be like play like on a continuous loop, like album starts
meant to be replayed.
Yeah, like stuff like that. Like that's so cool. Like that's
pretty cool. It's kind of
so well thought
out. It's actually
out.
it's kind of creepy in a way. That's kind of like eerie to me too at the same time.
Yeah,
like,
I'm getting a little bit of chills.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that.
Badass,
I was like, that's cool, but it's creepy.
But that's like such like deep thought like that you're putting into your work, and it's not something that you just like make to make money. It's something that you put a lot of time and effort into. That's what makes like quality music. That's what makes it good to me.
But I think people have lost respect for that. That goes back to
100%.
the instant gratification.
100%.
And then you have the artist. I'm going to use Old Town Road for an example. I don't know a lot about the song, but it's one that was popular recently. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I hate it.
And then you go on places like Rap Genius, where I used to love going, because I'm like, okay, what does this lyric mean, you know? And it's just editors on there who could be random. It's almost like Wikipedia, you know, where it's like, is this a credible source, or it's the artist and they're just making up some bullshit? Like, is this really what you meant, or are you just doing this on the fly now? Like,
the curtains are blue.
Well, I think it could be also too, is that like where we're at technology wise, is that anybody, if they have like a few like extra, like even like $1,000, I'm sure you could do it for even less, like can make music and they can put it out there.
But I have a song on YouTube, iTunes, just about everything, plugging myself again, Serotonin, go listen to it. But yeah, the amount of equipment I have, very cheap. It doesn't take much to be able to record. Right. You can be completely talented in today's world and plug a little bit of auto-tune, just know how to make a beat, and you're a star.
Yeah, I mean,
well, like back in the day, like it wasn't as readily available to the public, which I'm sure like people fell through the cracks too with that. And we're fortunate to have that too. Whenever we have like some random person that just blows up out of nowhere and they're great, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But the people that were really popular back then, usually all like the stars that were really big back in the day, like 60s, 70s, 80s, and even before that, they were really big and popular because they were good. And they were really talented.
They had the talent to back it up.
For the most part, there were still the companies who were just pumping in money.
That's true.
Icons.
The music industry has always been a shady business in general when it comes to that kind of shit. Like, hey, stay relevant and you have to. But at least kind of in the older days, when they did that shit, they still had the talent to be able to shit out hits. Like actual good, well thought out hits.
Well, that's the thing is like, I kind of feel like it's almost the same story all over again, as like you find some bozo, pick them up off the street, maybe they do music or whatever. I mean, I'm sure they had to have more talent than people nowadays, but it's the same story now as like this big industry picking up some random artist back in the 70s and 80s, more 90s for, I'm talking about pop mostly, I think, but and then nowadays where, you know, you see a YouTube video and then Sony goes and picks them up and it's like, all right, we're pumping money into this.
All right, Yodel Kid, it's your fucking time to shine.
Exactly.
It could also be maybe that, you know, back in the day, you didn't have all the distractions that we have too. Not also distractions, but just other things to fill up your time with. So most people, you know, whenever you get home from school, you can, most families may not have had like a TV or something, or it wasn't like as like engaging as it is now, obviously. So they pick up a guitar or something that they bought at the pawn shop and teach themselves how to play, and that's what they do whenever they get out of school or something. But now we have so many other things, and that's something that really takes a lot of time and energy and focus and like determination. It's so much easier just to go to your phone to do whatever than actually focus on something. So
everything
maybe,
you need is just a quick scroll away, man.
Exactly.
So maybe a segue, but when was the last time y'all watched actual like satellite TV or like cable TV?
Oh Jesus! The main thing that I have a TV at work, and they'll put it on whatever. So I see Wendy Williams all the fucking time.
I'm sorry.
All the time.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's bad. That, or whenever I'm sitting there, I'll turn it to the ID channel. But I'd say the closest thing we do is we have Hulu, which, streaming services are just fucking killing the TV industry in general. Cable's dead. Sorry, guys. It's dead. So we'll stream the games when they happen live. So I guess that technically counts. Other than that, no, I don't.
Dude, yeah, like, what is the kick on reality TV? I was watching, I don't know, I was watching the Dr. Pimple Popper.
My mom likes that show.
My mom was watching it the other day.
My mom watched the worst reality shows.
I sit down
you guys
for
like that shit, you're nasty.
10 or 15 minutes, and I'm watching this, and I'm just critiquing the hell out of it. I'm like, Mom, how do you like this? This is so dumb.
I can see that, because that's just like a weird like avenue of like people like enjoy like watching that like on the internet, like it's a guilty pleasure type of thing.
Yeah.
But even like that, like
that's what I'm saying
all
is,
the other like stupid reality shows though, like it's just like like my like 600-pound life or whatever. Like it's nothing. Like you're fat and you exist. Like that's the premise of the show. Like it's stupid. Yeah. It's mindless.
And well, the thing about it is like, I don't know if it's just me, but I would rather go to YouTube. I'd rather go to Netflix. I'd rather go watch a documentary. I'd rather go watch someone else's personal video and like, see it raw. But it's like the shows are so fabricated. Like just watching the Dr. Pimple Popper show, you could just tell how disingenuous the interaction was. I'm like, Mom, do you not see how scripted this is right now? And she's like, no, he's sad. He has this mole on his neck. I'm like, it's like so scripted. This isn't. I mean, I know how the clinics run.
Right.
This is not how the clinics run. You don't just walk in and shake the doctor's hand immediately.
Oh no, exactly. Even the shows that claim to be pretty, like, loose about it. My example would be Pawn Stars, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of Pawn Stars is kind of cool. Like it's interesting when people bring interesting shit in there. But the deal is they script that shit left and right. They've had people who've been on the show who are like, yeah, I just walked up and like, hey, you want to be on the show? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, all right, you're gonna be selling this item.
Once you find the formula, like it's so like it's just so stupid. Like you could just like watch someone come in and then you just like know like on Pawn Stars you're gonna be like, oh, I got like this so and so like old piece of something. I got it at a yard sale. Thought it might be worth something. I'm gonna bring it in here too. He's like, oh yeah, I don't know about it. Here's some random facts. Let me go talk to my buddy. And then he comes back. He doesn't know anything. They have a price haggle, and then they meet somewhere. And I want 100. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I'll do 50. Can you do 75? No. Okay, well, we'll do 60. Okay.
The thing that bothers me the most about that show is not necessarily that, but it's they feel like because it's a form of reality TV, they need to tie in some weird fucking plot line, so they'll do some dumb scripted ass shit,
like competitions between them or something. They're like, me and Chumlee bought this new AR, and we're gonna go down to the shooting range and have a shoot off or something.
Exactly, like, and it's so blatantly.
And then the old man like ups and like beats them or something, and they're like, oh, the old pop still got it or something.
No, and they literally say it just like that. Like Chumlee's like, oh, I guess the old man still had, like, just the most scripted fucking shit.
You said something about a formula. Is that the same formula with music? Because my stepdad, he's like, he refuses to watch anything but reality TV, specifically like the car shows and like Gas Monkey Garage or those stupid ass racing shows. And it's the same thing where it's like, oh yeah, old Bob's got this Mustang, but I'm gonna beat his ass. And then Bob beats him and he's like, well, he'll shoot, and they're like getting a fight.
I think that with that, and me and Trevor have talked about this before, not on the podcast, but just to each other, it's just so easy to watch things. That's kind of stupid to say out loud, but
this is a quote from him. This is what I'm about to tell you. He's like, yeah, I don't want to watch anything that works my brain too hard.
Exactly. I think that's how so many people think. That's why so many shitty movies and shitty TV shows are popular. It's because no one wants to think critically about something, or like, watch something that might make them feel a certain way. They just want to be spoon-fed information.
Exactly. Dude, I was talking to someone the other day. I'm not going to say who, I'm not going to say where. But I was talking to someone the other day, and she was like telling me, she was like, "Oh, what's your favorite?" I was asking her a favorite movie and shit like that.
I can't answer that.
Frozen.
That's such a hard question.
Well, not even
for
her favorite
me.
movie, just like what kind of movies do you like? And she likes.
That's still a hard question
she likes
for me too.
just dumb, mindless action movies. And she said, "I don't like things that make me feel emotion." And because
are you a human?
And I get no.
Are you a robot?
Okay, so here's the thing. I get that kind of because most people they deal with their life so much.
Well, TV can be a form of escapism.
No, that's exactly where I was going with that. They deal with their life so much, or they're so bored by it, or they're just so beaten down by it that when they go to watch the cinemas, they want something that is enjoyable. They can turn their brain off and just watch it. Yeah, it's a form of escapism. It's like this shit would never happen in real life. I recognize that, but I deal with life all the time, so I just want to tune out for a bit and just watch this dumb shit and let this be my world for a minute.
Well, I get that too.
So I understand that aspect of it.
I mean, I'm like that too. I don't have to watch like critically like acclaimed like movies or TV shows all the time, even though that's usually what I do. Like every now and then I like to turn on like The Office. It's like nothing that like you have to like think super hard about, but it's something that I use for like my background thing, or it's like while I'm doing something.
It requires more brain power than reality TV.
Well, yeah, that's true, but I feel like everyone has like that one kind of show where they just like to turn it on and then tune off.
Cartoons for sure are my thing.
I think that's such a strong point though about escapism, because I mean I find myself doing that a lot with video games,
Me
books,
too.
Hell, TV shows.
Well, books are a bit better. You can get.
You can do that before.
You can get something from books though, and the same could be said for movies or TV shows or video games too. Even
it's so harmful though, because especially the more that I'm working on anxiety and depression, is like just being and like feeling all that emotion rather than like, all right, I'm gonna escape, I can deal with it later. Like the more you push it back, the more I find myself
it builds up.
Yeah, like
you get like the more like you avoid it, the more against it you kind of are.
It comes back harder and stronger,
I think that's true too, because once I've like over like the past couple of years since I like changed a bit and like started like thinking more critically and just being like kind of more consciously aware of like people and like feelings and things, like everything kind of feels a bit better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
so,
if you can't make sense of that, then I think you get lost watching reality TV shows. I think you get lost listening to rap songs or pop songs on the radio that are simplistic, and you
you just get kind of stuck in a rut of it.
I don't know if y'all know about theory, like the theories, developmental theories, and like the stages of life. Erickson, ring a bell if y'all ever did any psychology.
Erickson, no.
I took one psychology class in college.
Basically, you have these stages of life that you are intended to fulfill based off the theory, and the very last. Like the last two, one of them is like generativity versus stagnation, and basically the generativity aspect is giving back to your community, or being productive to the society or the culture that you're functioning in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that disconnecting from the emotion is one of the biggest reasons. Well, early on it's a little bit different of a case, because basically the way it works is if you don't make it past this stage, then you don't move on the next stage to complete. And you go all the way
into stagnatism or whatever it is.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
You either succeed in this point of the stage and move on to the next one, or you fail and you stay behind in this stage. You can't get to the next one. That's the theory. So I think that, anyways, point is the coping with emotions.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with the self.
Yeah.
If you can't understand
100%.
yourself and the way you operate, then you're not going to understand the dynamics of other people around you.
Yeah,
exactly. You have to be in tune with yourself before you try and navigate throughout the world.
Right.
And I've talked to Trevor about that too. I think it's something that's super important that gets really like overlooked or kind of like downplayed, where like, most people, and I think a lot of people our age or younger generations, like don't really think about it or think it's kind of weird. Like if you just like go into your room, and it could be like before you go to bed or like while you're taking a shower or something, just like turn the lights off. Don't do anything and just
get off your fucking phone
and like self-evaluate yourself.
Yeah,
I think that makes a big point to the music and the simplicity thing. One of us said about you just buy a record and you go fucking listen to it, working on a car, whatever, or even just sitting there and listening to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, that evokes your emotion, and you're thinking like, why is it making me feel this way? What's going on? And you have the ability to basically analyze yourself just sitting back and listen to that, especially with creativity, especially with artistic stuff.
That's a really rewarding feeling too, is whenever, because it's happened to me plenty of times where if I'm like driving and I'm kind of, whenever you like it's a long highway, you're just on like the interstate and you're just going and like you just kind of like drift into like kind of autopilot mode and you're just like listening to something, you're just daydreaming and thinking, and you just have like good like profound thoughts, or it's like something like that's been bugging you like all week or something, like just come to like a forefront, and then like you just kind of solve it, or you confront like your issues in your head. Like it's such a good feeling to think about.
Yeah.
And
I think
whenever
can I plug something right there?
Ahead.
Yeah.
So building off of that, so yeah, one time Chandler knows this, the whole story, but I went on a trip to tell a girl how I felt about her. She lived in Santa Fe. So I had to drive for fucking 12 hours pretty much just alone by myself in the car and the playlist I had made to go do it. And the trip started as this kind of like, I'm going to go say what's on my mind. But in the process of just taking that road trip by myself, no one else, I can't talk to anyone. I mean, I could have called someone if I wanted, but I didn't want to. Just me in the car, open road, nothing around. When you're driving through New Mexico, there's fucking nothing. Just nothing on both sides. Just that and the music that's in front of you and you in your own head. That's it. Because half the time you're not even listening to the music. You're just zoning out.
Right.
That's pretty much it.
It just slips into background noise.
And
I don't know. I jam quite a bit. I'm not.
Well, yeah, no.
Yeah, it depends on like the state of mind you're in too.
Yeah, and no, I jammed to the songs I knew, and then like some of the ones I was like lesser on, just
you
zoning
tune out. I know.
Yeah, and so that whole trip, it was supposed to be about that, but what had actually had happened, because I'd spent so much time just alone, just pretty much just sitting there like this the whole time, just driving the whole time,
not doing anything.
Yeah, I
driving.
had found it was crazy. I found myself when I did it.
It's funny that you're telling this story, because I did the exact same thing. I was going through a pretty rough time, and my uncle. Do you know what hot shotting is? It's like, you go and pick up a load for somebody and go transport it out or whatever on a trailer or truck to X location for companies. Anyways, my uncle happened to text me when I was like super anxious and depressed. He's like, hey, I need you to do this job for me. Drive out to outskirts of Houston by NASA. I'm like, okay, I don't really want to, but whatever. It's easy money. So, I mean, it was only a 5-hour drive for me. Well, 10 hours total, but just going out there and like, I listen to podcasts every now and then, but I would just turn off the radio and just...
Yeah, I've done that a few times where I've like been going and like, if I'm listening to YouTube or something and like I hit like a dead zone or something and I lose service and it's just silent and I just like my phone locks or something, I just keep it like silent for like the rest of the trip and I'm just thinking like to myself in my whole head. It's really nice just having like that sort of like reassurance that like like what's going on in your life and you're aware of like any issues that you have.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds so silly to like think about, but
I wouldn't have believed it if you hadn't.
No, I mean,
you need to think about like things that are troubling you in your life instead of trying to like go into these forms of escapism and just like slipping into watching like easy like shows that you can just binge on hours and hours.
I feel like there's this misconception that when you do shit like that you're dwelling on it. And I think there is a line, sure, where you hit that point. Maybe you have been on this for a little bit, but I think thinking about the things that are uncomfortable and understanding, I think it can help lead to understand why you are uncomfortable with it. And when you understand that, it helps you overcome it. But if you
100%.
never think about it and you just tune out all the time, you're never going to understand it, and it's always going to be an anxiety or something that bothers you later on.
That's the big thing is. If you're relatively healthy in terms of a mental status, then yes, you can think about things and overcome them independently. But there's people who can't do that. You know, extreme depression, extreme anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, schizophrenia. You need to know the correct coping mechanisms.
If I can jump in there too, it's something that I've thought about. That's kind of. I've noticed it a little bit that, and maybe you can kind of relate to it with like some kind of experience in the medical field, but I feel like it's kind of trendy to have self-diagnosed anxiety or depression now.
Sawyer talked about this exact thing on the last one.
That's funny.
This was a point that he brought up. He literally said, I think it's trendy or cool to be depressed now. That was the point that he had brought up.
I have a kind of a rebuttal to that. I think
hang on. Let him finish his point first.
Well, I think that it's a good and a bad thing, because I mean, it could be said for like any other kind of condition, where if you're kind of trying to like virtue signal a little bit.
You said the same thing. You guys are the same person.
No, we're not. Come on, man. You got to be original.
Nah, dude, keep going.
But I think that people kind of use that as like, if they do feel like the way that like we've kind of described, where like they don't know how to like deal with things, then they just try and use, like, they say, oh, I have anxiety, or oh, I have depression. They like, kind of use that as like their shield, or like their reason for not dealing with these type of things. But of course, there's cases where it's real and extreme depression, which is hard to tell because there's really not a certain like you have it, you don't have it type of thing.
Well, this goes back to the whole, I like Erickson. We use it a lot in nursing. The whole stages thing is the thing about calling something a traumatic experience is kind of led into such this negative connotation. It's like, oh, it's traumatic. They must have been abused. They must have, seen their family murder or something. But the smallest thing can be a trauma. Like, childhood is so incredibly important. Like, normal development in childhood. And if you miss even the smallest thing, and you could have the greatest parents in the world and they could miss the tiniest thing. And if you don't get that correct development, it's just like this domino effect, and they stack and stack and stack. And if you can't backtrack and figure out, okay, well, I'm an adult now. If you're in a healthy state of mind, say, I'm an adult now. Like, how do I work through this? And there's support systems, obviously, psychiatrists, psychologists, etc. If you can't do that and backtrack and know your own history, it's part of being with yourself and knowing yourself well. Then you're not going to be able to overcome whatever happened in the development. And I don't know. It's just crazy how much of a domino effect that is.
Yeah, and like you said, there's a stigma against that. Well, it's funny because Zach and I have had a conversation about this before with PTSD, and some people kind of, I don't know, they associate that term with mainly people who have been in wars, but PTSD can come in all kinds of form. Like, he was telling me one time, like, it
doesn't have to be physical either. It can be completely emotional.
Well, right, PTSD. Yeah, and that was one of the things. He was telling me about how people have gotten PTSD just from poverty. Like there's a thing where people literally have like diagnosed PTSD from just poverty, just just growing up living poor. And it triggers some kind of thing in their brain where they get super emotional and stuff like that. So it comes in all shapes and sizes. It's just
That's the hard thing, though, is like, even with physiological diagnosis, it's hard to have a definitive thing that says, okay, this is congestive heart failure. Well, the same thing goes, if not even, it is more complicated with, okay, this person has PTSD because, we only know so much about the brain, obviously, and it's very little at this point, and there's no textbook thing to say like, this string of events led to this. Like, you could say
it's not black and white. It's all gray area.
They show signs and symptoms of PTSD, but doing the root cause analysis and going to fix that is incredibly difficult.
So I want to segue into this because this is something I'm a little curious about. So I've had arguments with one person in particular. I'm not going to name who they are, but
do we know who they are?
You both know who they are.
Okay.
And if he listens to this, he will know who he is. Got into pretty big arguments about how do you view life? Do you think life is black and white, or do you think life is colorful or gray? What's your opinions on that?
It's not black and white. Life is an experience. Like, everyone's is different. Every single individual's experience and how they interpret life is different from another. So I don't think it's black and white at all. Okay.
That's like I said with
I mentioned because you had said something whatever, and then he was like, well, yeah, it's not black and white. So what do you think?
It's obviously subjective, dude. Like I said, with the different theories and the way that we understand now how the brain works, that it's colorful. It's obviously colorful. There's goals we want to meet. There's things we want to do throughout life, and you can go through that black and white, but I don't think you truly reach the point of generativity if you're not doing it colorfully. if you're not looking at it through that lens.
I agree, because I don't know. I think I think the people who view life as black and white are people who lack empathy in a way, because I mean, they're like, oh, it's simple. Like you don't do that. That's like immoral, or that's messed up. No, that's a no. But then I'm like, okay, well, while what that person might have done might be wrong in the sense of the word, look at what happened to them to lead them to that decision or that action that they chose.
Now you're reaching into something that I've been developing is, putting yourself in someone else's shoes rather than basing your morals off of whatever culture you've grown up
Exactly.
in.
And this is something that I haven't struggled with. This is something that I've struggled with, people not understanding or not having empathy for one reason or another. They just jump to this immediate conclusion of, well, you're a bad person if you do this. And I'm like, well, that's not true, though.
Yeah, like what led that person to that event?
Exactly, and but they don't consider that. Exactly. It's just like, you did this, you're bad. It's like, okay, well, right. if you were put through the same situations,
they start from the ending and then don't care about.
They make their conclusion backwards.
It's almost like a mob mentality, and that's something that I'm glad that I've taken this perspective. What I don't know if as a name or not, on the standpoint of backtracking in someone's shoes and trying to get an understanding of why the series of events went the way they did for someone and how it got to a bad point. But in nursing especially, I don't know, it's a human thing obviously to gossip and be social, but there's a lot of nurses who it just seems like they cast sin upon some patients for doing the things they do. For example, people with COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease,
and they're chain smokers.
Typically, well, that's an aspect, and that'll be gossiped about. But I've had all my COPD patients are just these angry, always upset, always on edge. But you got to think, like, they can't breathe, man. They've got these stiff lungs. They don't get enough oxygen. Their brain is literally working off a hypoxic drive. The CO2 is what's driving them to breathe, not the oxygen. So they're struggling to breathe all the time. That puts in cortisol. It's like, no wonder they're angry all the time. How would you feel breathing through a straw? How would you feel?
I feel like there's just like kind of a switch. I mean, to cut you off if you weren't done.
You're good.
But I feel like there's just like kind of a switch. Like we're at like this kind of developmental age, like when you get like to your late teens, like 17, 18, 19, when you start.
I want to. If you heard that weird cackling laughter in the background, we have some friends that are in the apartment right now, and they're just kind of in the back jacking off. I'm not sure. So if you hear weird noises,
they're probably playing Super
that's what
Mario
it is.
Party.
Or it's fucking
not
Chandler
jacking
and Dub jacking off under the table. It's one of the two.
But
yeah, go ahead.
No hands. I'm really talented.
I'm impressed. I'm fucking impressed over here.
I've kind of lost my train of thought.
It's okay. Here. So wait, hang on. What were we? What was he going on?
My COPD patients.
Oh, I was saying, I feel like there's a switch kind of like in this developmental age when you're like in your late teens, like 18, 19, up until like when is like the brain fully developed? Like I know there's like different views. Like isn't it for like anywhere from like 25 to 30?
That's another thing
that's
hard to reach.
And that's crazy to think about too. Is that we have so much like vast medical technology, but we still know like so little about our.
We don't even know what we don't know, my friend.
It's
weird.
It's something that you learn about in early psychology courses. Is the
let me finish this real quick before we get off on there. But I feel like there's just like a point where if you like, and it doesn't have to be to this extreme, like where someone faces some kind of like, it doesn't have to be an extreme tragedy or like, it doesn't even have to be a negative effect. It can be extremely positive, but there has to be some sort of like event that makes you feel something like on an emotional level, whether good or bad, to where you can feel that towards others. You know what I mean?
Isn't it an event though? I mean, if you think, this came to my head immediately, the same way you train your muscles in the gym, you build that and you build that and you build that. Is there a particular event, or would it be?
I think it could be over like a period of time, but I feel like there's something that like kind of starts it. Like there's like kind of a tipping point where you just.
So exactly.
You get past like just thinking for yourself, and you kind of start to feel like, well, I don't know, maybe this guy does have like a kind of idea, and you just kind of give way a little bit. Like you just give an inch at a time or something, and then you just kind of break that wall down to where you can just feel for like another person on a
Yeah.
humanistic
See, like
level.
you mean like a sentinel event that you have in your memories where you're like,
It doesn't
I
have to
remember
be
that's
like,
the time where I was like switching my mentality on this.
it could be. I have a personal theory that I think like there's like one or two like major events that kind of formulate like anyone's kind of personality like throughout their later years, like
Couldn't argue with that.
in their early like developmental stages.
I'll build on that. So when I was younger, I was a judgmental little prick, is what I was.
I think we all.
A judgmental motherfucker. I took these ideas of either what others were saying, because I mean we grew up in a predominantly small Christian town, so I mean you already have these ideas in your head of like, to be a good person, you don't do drugs, you don't have sex, you don't smoke, you don't curse, like that. Like that's
that just goes past like any like one at our high school just about. Like,
yeah,
exactly.
Is there anyone good?
Yeah, I mean that's what everyone like knew was good, but anyone that was like the highest like echelon that you can get in high school, I guess, like wasn't that at all. Sleeping around with everybody, drinking.
Oh yeah,
cussing,
yeah, no, 100%.
Yourself.
Either way, that was the idea of a good person, right? I used that in quotations there. That was the idea. And so, I mean, when you're younger and your parents are pretty much telling you that's what it means to be a good person, don't ever drink, fuck, or whatever, like none of that. So, I mean, when you're young and you're dumb, you just fucking believe them. You're like, well, yeah, they don't lie to me. That's what a good person is, I guess. And so I fell into that fucking trap, and I was just this judgmental little prick. Like, if you ever did any of those fucking 3 things right there, I was like, yeah, fuck you, buddy. You're a piece of shit. I don't like you. And so that's kind of the mindset that I had for the longest time. And my mom, at least at one point, realized, oh, I fucked up. Like, he's pretty judgmental, actually. And so she would talk to me a little bit and be like, maybe you should like consider their point of view or something. And I'm like, no, like they did this, they're bad. Pretty much exactly how I thought. Well, then my mom passed away, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't know, it's like everything, like shortly after she died, everything fucking clicked. Everything she'd ever said to me about, just trying to accept everybody and, what does it matter? Love is love, or just all the kind of really sentimental shit that she would say to me. It's like it fucking just like that clicked. And I was like, what is the point of judging people? Like, I don't know their story, and I don't know what led them to do that. And who the fuck cares if you like to drink or smoke or fuck? Like, this is your life, man. You got one of it. That's it. And then you go away and you're gone. Like, so enjoy it while you're fucking here. Do what you want to do. Don't be a complete piece of shit. Like, don't fucking steal from people and shit like that. But I mean, you got one, dude. Yeah. So use it up. And I never understood that. It was like I was a stubborn fucking mule about that. But the second she passed away, I was like, I fucking get it. I get it. And I completely, it's crystal clear in my brain. So I do think, I think there are pivotal moments in your life that happen that can really change your perspective or really open your mind to things that maybe you weren't necessarily willing to believe or accept before. So I agree with you there. I think that's a good point that you made.
Yeah, I mean, it's been more transitional for me. Like, you guys knew me 3 or 4 years ago. I was a bit more shady. I didn't come around as much as I did now.
Yeah, if you had made plans, there was like an 85% chance you wouldn't show up.
Yeah. But it's been more transitional for me. Just I'm lucky to have gone through nursing and had the experiences that I had that kind of opened my eyes in that way. But it's been, I mean, I still struggle with morality and things like that. Like, I judge people sometimes that aren't productive, or they make questionable choices, or they're a textbook stereotypical listen to pop music and monotonous songs. Like, I cast a judgment on them. I don't necessarily mean to. I can catch myself and be like, yeah, backtrack to the walking in their shoes thing, but at the same time I'm still like, man, it's kind of sad that they're wasting something that could be there's so much potential to that person.
Right.
And so many people are like that. There's so many people where it's like, well, I guess they have a role in society, but at the same time it's like, look at the potential this person has. Like, it's I guess it's disheartening to me more than anything.
Oh yeah, no, there are several people we grew up with that I watch now that we knew from high school or whatnot, that they were either in AP classes, or they were super smart people, or they were really good people, and they kind of like they've fallen off the wagon, or they've kind of gone off the grid in one way or another. And a part of you was like, hey, yeah, like, what the fuck, dude, come on, get your shit together, because you had a lot of potential and you're just squandering it. But at the same time, you're like, some people just don't people deal with shit a lot differently than others. Like one thing, it's this dumbass fucking picture of I remember thinking this, but this is like the perfect way out, because when I've tried to describe to people that pain is relative, I didn't really know how to do it, but I saw this dumbass like, share for like Facebook kind of picture. I'm like, that describes it. It's a picture of these two wolves, and one is this big ass fucking jacked wolf, and it's got like 1,000,000 daggers or arrows in its back, and it's like standing tall still. And it's like, it hurts, but whatever. Then it's like this little like wolf pup, and it's got one arrow in it, and it's like basically dead on the ground. And it's like, well, pain is relative. What fucking hurts you might be nothing to me, and what makes me feel like complete shit might be absolutely nothing to you. Like, that's nothing.
And that's how we grow too, because everyone can go through and take their different experiences at like different levels compared to other people. Like, someone could go through, like, if you went through like a bad breakup or something, or like a death like in your family, or any kind of like event, like it can go over some person, they can take it fairly well, kind of reasonable, and then it can go to someone else and it completely destroys them, and
exactly
they never recover from it. That's just like the frailty of the human brains.
It's the human condition, and it's very subjective.
Yeah,
it is different in all shapes and forms from everything that has ever happened in your life to lead you to the person that you are now. And it is not the same for a single living organism on this planet.
And we say it's a condition, but shouldn't we feel privileged really to have that condition, to really make these cognitive feelings? And because that's what makes us different than any other kind of animal on the planet. And I feel like a lot of people kind of take that for granted, like being able to feel and have free will and think and articulate like our thoughts the way we do is such a blessing to have. I feel like it's wasted a lot today.
That's kind of the points I was making, where I'm disheartened when I see
feel
people
pity
like
on
that.
People like that.
And I think a big thing for me, at least, is it's hard because that's such a huge role and responsibility to try and grasp in helping other people, which is why I think it's important to do small gratitudes where you can, especially, like the stupid cheesy like pay it forward thing, like what kind of ripple effect can that have on someone who may be in a hard point in their life?
Oh yeah.
And what kind of changes can you make with such a small thing? And I think it's important to have to be kind, like to just have a kind mentality.
Exactly.
And almost a pity type of mentality.
I want to build off that. That is one of the biggest issues people have with other people. They become cynical because they see, because this world, especially with social media and all the shit that we have now, it's easy to see the bad in people. It's easy to do. I mean, all you got to do is look left and right, and you can find a shitty person. But I feel like it disheartens people.
We're all shitty, though.
Yeah, we all do bad things. I think that the most important thing in becoming less cynical and becoming better as a society, as a race, as a fucking species, is just being a little more understanding towards each other. That's it. Not casting these bullshit judgments that we had because of what you grew up with, or your ethnicity or your religion. Just being slightly more understanding from one another. It's like, man, she's being such a fucking bitch today. It's like, okay, well, why? Is she just doing it because that's how she is? Is she doing it because she had a really bad day? Is she doing it because she got some bad health news? Like, what is the reason for her treating me like this? Instead of just immediately jumping to fuck her.
What's your fucking problem?
Yeah, fuck you, bitch. Like, how dare you talk to me like that? And like, for a second, like, take a step back, put your ego and your pride aside, and be like,
how many mornings have you had where like you wake up and like you try and like start getting ready for work, and like you go out and like your car battery's dead or something, or you get stuck in traffic, or you spill something on your shirt whenever you're getting ready for work. Like, the littlest things can make you have like such a shitty day. Like, it's happened to everybody, and then someone lashes out on you. You can take it personally and say, oh, this person's a fucking asshole. Or you can say, you know what, this person may be having a kind of a bad day, some things may not be going right for them. I'm just gonna take it as it is. Tell them, hope you have a good day, and then just play it off.
Exactly.
You can go even deeper with that and say, not is it just a bad day, but what coping mechanisms has this person developed? How are they thinking in their head to lead them to behave in certain ways?
I do that so much, just like whenever I'm in public, because I'm not as social as I used to be, for sure. Like, I get kind of anxious, like going out to like real big like social places like bars and things like that, but I find myself like people watching so much all the time.
Yeah.
so much
time.
all the time.
Can we use that?
Yeah, we can. Why use many words when few words do trick?
Dude, fucking what is that called? God damn it! It's from 1984, George Orwell. Shit.
I was quoting The Office.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, but it's a thing. It's a thing from there. It's called like I don't even know. Fucking quick speed. It's something dumb, but they have a word for it, and they just use as minimalistic words as possible.
That's what this podcast should turn into.
God damn it! I'm gonna look. I'm gonna.
That's
look
just.
this
Go ahead,
up
look
right
it
here.
up.
Well, I mean, keep talking.
I forgot what I was talking about.
Bars,
anyways.
social,
yeah.
people watching.
So
I'm always people watching. Like anytime like I watch like someone like in public, like I may just be like sitting at a restaurant or something, but I love like watching like how people interact like just with everyday environment. It's so interesting because everyone does everything different.
That's where it's hard, especially with the pity thing and the kindness thing, is when you watch yourself like that. And I catch myself a lot still casting judgment on people. I'm guessing it's some type of primitivity, social interaction thing. I don't know, coping mechanism of mine, but I kind of beat myself up sometimes when I got to stop myself from being so negative, you know, like
I get
in
like,
my own head, I'm like judging this person. Like
I get like that a lot too. I feel really cynical towards people like that, like people that are my age and just kind of like want everything force fed to them and don't really try and like dig deep into anything. And I just get like that natural feeling like, oh, I'm smarter than you, like I'm more intellectually aware, like I'm better than you type of thing.
I hate that because
that's like the worst kind of feeling, but it's my natural feeling towards that person, and it's usually like probably true. I mean, it sounds like kind of an asshole thing to say, but
I know I hate putting myself on a pedestal because now it's a reverse effect where it's like, yeah, I'm being kind and full of pity, but now I'm basically calling them pieces of shits, and I'm up here, you're down here.
I can't say for certain, but I feel like most people the good kind of like people that have reached like that higher status in society that are like your Bill Gates or like type of people like that, like once you hit like that kind of level, if you have like that kind of kindness to you, like it humbles you in a way, and you don't need to be as rude to people as you are, because I feel like a lot of people that are kind of like that is because they have other factors like influencing their
self-esteem.
The term was called Newspeak, and it's a language created by this party. It's a controlled language of
this is all in the book 1984.
This is in the book.
I thought it was real.
No. It's a controlled language of restricted grammar and limited vocabulary meant to limit the freedom of thought. So basically, just you reduce words as simple as humanly possible, so that way you can't really think too much about shit. So you don't think that, hey, this is kind of fucked up. You're just like,
maybe
me work, me do things. Like that's pretty.
Maybe that's where our society needs to go. Our world. That way, we're not misinterpreting and judging.
Jesus.
We just need to cut the Webster's dictionary in half.
Dude, think about how complicated language is now, though. Like memes. Memes are a prime example. Like you can show someone a picture and that communicates
it really is
so
like
many things.
It's really weird, like how like you comprehend like a meme, because you can just read it, and if you just read it without like trying to think about the subtext that's with it, like you completely miss like the punchline or something. I find it a lot whenever like I try and show like my mom or my dad a meme or something. Like
that's the funniest shit.
I'm like, hey, look at this. This is hilarious, and they read it and they're like, yeah, I don't get it. I'm like, it's like I can't really tell you like how to understand it. You just kind of understand it.
The best way to describe memes they are just an inside joke that an entire community of people on the internet are on the inside of. That's what a meme is.
But
for
it's
sure.
a language.
Because almost in a way, but it's like an inside joke. So it's like if let's say the people in our friend group, they took a picture of Chandler just fucking like super like wanked face, or he was like hammered or some shit like that, and then he said something dumb. It's like, and then like, and now anytime you use that picture and you say something dumb underneath it, you just assume it's like something that Chandler said.
Well, I feel like that's a form of communication, because like you can just see like, or language, because you can just see like a picture and then like like
it's a connection.
But that's the thing. So it's like now anyone in the friend group who sees just that picture, they know it's immediately, because they've been around it, they know immediately it's going to be something stupid. It's like, oh, they're going to say something dumb here. Well, it's the same thing with memes. It's like, okay, so it has a context originally, so people kind of understand like what this meme means, and then they run with it and they change it a million times, but it all has like the same base meaning. So if you're not a part of it and you don't know what it is, you've never seen it before, you don't understand it because it's an inside joke that a lot of people have caught on to.
I mean, I think in the
Can you say mean 5 times fast?
Meme.
I think in the most simplest form that you can put that is it's just a way of relating.
Yeah.
Which is like a huge objective of existing.
I was going to say, isn't it really weird how, like, as far separated, like, our society kind of is today, like, politically or any other kind of way, like, ideally, like, we're pretty separated, I'd say. But
I don't think so.
Well, like, do you mean, like, divisive
I get what you're saying.
Well, I was going to say, like, how, like, split we are, but how well, like, we can come together as a community over the most popular meme. And, like, everybody, like, is okay with it and, like, laughs at, like, those kind of memes, like, as used in, like, a general way. As long as it's not, like...
Why can't we use that with politics?
I mean, it's weird. Like, it's the simplest thing that, like, everybody, like, agrees on, and we can all come together and, like, know, like, the... gaping like Pikachu face means like what the fuck, and like
yeah.
both sides can come together and like cohesively agree that that's what it means. But I mean, if it's not memes, like we can't see eye to eye on anything else.
I want to segment that because you mentioned that's what it's like with politics and coming together. Have you guys fucking seen the Jon Stewart speech? Please tell me you guys have seen that.
Play it.
We are going to watch that shit. Oh my god. Okay, so context for this.
Yeah,
Jon Stewart.
Can you play it?
Oh no, I'm gonna play it, but I'm gonna give some context to people who don't.
Well, I mean, can you play it live, or are we gonna have to pause it and watch it?
I think we can play it. I'll at least play the audio for people because we're not monetized right now. So if we get a copyright strike for it, I don't give a fuck. This
monetized.
This is one of the
trying to get that cheddar stew.
Best speeches I have ever fucking heard.
You're being sarcastic.
No, I swear to God, this is amazing. So I don't know too much about the whole situation in general, but basically. Jon Stewart has become a huge advocate for 9/11 first responders. So 9/11 first responders are now getting cancer from all the concrete and mixture of things that were in the air that day when they responded running into the buildings. A lot of them have gotten cancer from doing that. So Jon Stewart, since I think 2010, has been an advocate for them in order to get the health care that they deserve, quite frankly. For
Blue Moon, good beer.
To get the healthcare that they deserve, quite frankly, for doing their fucking jobs and saving people's lives. And basically, I don't know too much about how Congress has kind of like ignored them in a way. They've kind of given them the run around, and he explains that a little bit in there, so I won't go too in depth. But so he's sitting there in front of this committee, and there's a couple chairs missing. It apparently looks worse in the video because they use a room that's bigger than what they were actually suited for. Mm-hmm. But his point's not mute because everyone in Congress should be there for that fucking meeting. And he comes out of the gate, pissed the fuck off, and he scolds Congress.
This is the same Jon Stewart.
Yeah, Daily Show.
Yeah, okay.
He scolds Congress. He makes Congress his fucking bitch. He goes in there and not only he's angry, but he is eloquent. Eloquent as shit. And I've watched that video probably 4 times now, and it's 10 minutes long. Beautiful. Everything he said is amazing.
Are we watching the whole thing?
We're watching this fucking thing, dude.
Oh, no.
Being verbose and eloquent whenever you're making an argument goes so far.
Dude,
y'all like Jordan Peterson?
I love Jordan Peterson.
So,
I mean, even I dislike the hell's the dude's name that got smacked with a BBC on BBC?
Ben Shapiro?
I don't like him, but
is that who you're talking about?
Talk, yeah.
Yeah, I like him quite a bit just because
I don't like his viewpoints.
I don't
like him.
Well, I don't either. Like, I don't agree with a lot of his personal viewpoints because I've watched a lot of interviews with him, and I don't really agree with like his religious viewpoints on like gay marriage and type of things. Well, I don't care about that, but he has like the reason to say like, this is my personal belief. I don't think gay marriage is right. This is Ben Shapiro, not me, and this is a subquote, but he says like, I don't agree with gay marriage as my personal belief, but as a society we should allow it because the government shouldn't infringe on this type of belief.
I respect that.
Okay, yeah,
I respect that.
Okay, so let's let's go in and watch this. So for those of you who don't want to listen to this speech, though I highly fucking recommend you listen to this speech, just jump ahead about 10 minutes.
As I sit here today, I can't help but think what an incredible metaphor this room is for the entire process that getting health care and benefits for 9/11 first responders has come to. Behind me, a filled room of 9/11 first responders, and in front of me, a nearly empty Congress. Sick and dying, they brought themselves down here to speak to no one. It's shameful. It's an embarrassment to the country, and it is a stain on this institution. And you should be ashamed of yourselves for those that aren't here, but you won't be. Because accountability doesn't appear to be something that occurs in this chamber. We don't want to be here. Lou doesn't want to be here. None of these people want to be here. But they are, and they're not here for themselves. They're here to continue fighting for what's right. Lou's going to go back for his 69th chemo. The great Ray Pfeiffer would come down here, his body riddled with cancer and pain, where he couldn't walk. And the disrespect shown to him and to the other lobbyists on this bill is utterly unacceptable. You know, I used to get, I would be so angry at the latest injustice that's done to these men and women. And, you know, another business card thrown our way as a way of shooing us away. Like children trick-or-treating, rather than the heroes that they are and will always be. Ray would say, calm down, Johnny, calm down. I got all the cards I need. And he would tap his pocket. Where he kept the prayer cards of 343 firefighters. The official FDNY response time to 9/11 was 5 seconds. 5 seconds. That's how long it took for FDNY, for NYPD, for Port Authority, for EMS to respond to an urgent need from the public. 5 seconds. Hundreds died in an instant. Thousands more poured in to continue to fight for their brothers and sisters. The breathing problem started almost immediately, and they were told they weren't sick, they were crazy. And then, as the illnesses got worse and things became more apparent, well, okay, you're sick, but it's not from the pile. And then when the science became irrefutable, okay, it's the pile. But this is a New York issue. I don't know if we have the money. And I'm sorry if I sound angry and undiplomatic, but I'm angry. And you should be too, and they're all angry as well. And they have every justification to be that way. There is not a person here, there is not an empty chair on that stage that didn't tweet out, never forget the heroes of 9/11, never forget their bravery, never forget what they did, what they gave to this country. Well, here they are. And where are they? And it would be one thing if their callous indifference and rank hypocrisy were benign, but it's not. Your indifference costs these men and women their most valuable commodity, time. It's the one thing they're running out of. This should be flipped. This hearing should be flipped. These men and women should be up on that stage, and Congress should be down here answering their questions as to why this is so damn hard and takes so damn long. And why, no matter what they get, something's always pulled back, and they got to come back. Mr. Johnson, you made a point earlier, and it was one that we have heard over and over again in these halls, and I couldn't help but to answer to it, which was, you said, look, you guys are obviously heroes, and 9/11 was a big deal, but, we have a lot of stuff here to do. And, we got to make sure there's money for a variety of disasters, hurricanes and tornadoes. But this wasn't a hurricane. And this wasn't a tornado. And by the way, that's your job anyway. We can't fund these programs. You can. Setting aside that no American in this country should face financial ruin because of a health issue. Certainly 9/11 first responders shouldn't have to decide whether to live or to have a place to live. And the idea that you can only give them 5 more years of the VCF because you're not quite sure what's going to happen 5 years from now, well, I can tell you, I'm pretty sure what's going to happen 5 years from now. More of these men and women are going to get sick, and they are going to die. And I am awfully tired of hearing that it's a 9/11 New York issue. Al-Qaeda didn't shout death to Tribeca. They attacked America, and these men and women, and their response to it is what brought our country back. It's what gave a reeling nation a solid foundation to stand back upon, to remind us of why this country is great, of why this country is worth fighting for, and you are ignoring them. And you can end it tomorrow. Why this bill isn't unanimous consent and a standalone issue is beyond my comprehension. And I have yet to hear a reasonable explanation for why. It'll get stuck in some transportation bill or some appropriations bill and get sent over to the Senate, where a certain someone from the Senate will use it as a political football to get themselves maybe another new import tax on petroleum, because that's what happened to us in 2015. And we won't allow it to happen again. Thank God for people like John Field. Thank God for people like Ray Pfeiffer. Thank God for all of these people who will not let it happen. They responded in 5 seconds. They did their jobs with courage, grace, tenacity, humility. 18 years later, do yours. Thank you.
All right, so for those who watched the entire thing, you'll notice a little cut there. For those who did not, welcome back, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that video. So what did you guys think about it?
I think my first thought is, besides it just being really compelling, and he's very emotional, and he was really good about the way he presented it, it's just kind of weird seeing someone that's normally in like a more lighthearted, like kind of taking like the sarcastic approach, like being 100% dead serious, but that also just shows like how serious of an issue it is. I think that's a lot of things too that like just kind of goes like unnoticed. Like when people think about 9/11, like there's like, yeah, never forget 9/11, but we do kind of forget like the ramifications of it that still happen today.
It's still ongoing. 18 years later, dude.
I don't mean to detract from the stance I was making earlier, but how did he become affiliated with this?
I don't think there's really an answer for it, because I looked it up and I'm not sure, but I just know it started in 2010 when he started advocating for them, because he's a longtime New Yorker himself. So I feel like he has a lot of pride.
Right.
Of course, I can't speak for him, but he has a lot of pride with the city in general, and a lot of New Yorkers do. But I don't know if they came to him. I don't know if he somehow got included, but I know he got included. It started back in 2010, and they've been going through this kind of fucking cat and mouse game with Congress. And then, like you mentioned there, in 2015, they something happened with as far as political footballing back and forth of like, oh yeah, we'll give it you what you want, but I might use this to also get what I want, kind of bullshit. And then I believe what was happening with this was they had some kind of bill passed where basically it gives them funding for a couple of years, but it runs out this year, or it runs out relatively soon. And so they're basically in there because they don't know if they're going to cut it or not, and they're basically in there saying like, extend this shit. What are you doing? And their argument previous to this was, well, we don't know if we're going to have the money. We don't know what's going to happen in 5 years, kind of thing. Like, we'll see. It's kind of a New York issue. And he went in there and he, guns fucking blazing, just, like I said, reprimanded Congress. And the next day, they passed it.
Oh,
they did?
God.
That's awesome.
His speech was powerful. Like,
That's awesome.
It lit social media up. I found it first of all places on fucking Twitter. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck is this? I guess I'll watch it. And I could not turn away from my phone. I was sitting there, mouth agape, just listening to him. And I'm like, I have to watch that again. I watched it like 3 fucking times. It was amazing.
That's awesome, because I was about to say, like, how horrible of a feeling can it be that, like, you've decided to work in, like, a public service, like, providing for your community and your country, like, whether it be, like, law enforcement, EMT, or, like, firefighter, like, anything like that. Like, you've made the conscious decision that that's what you want to do to give back. And then more than likely your lifetime's like your biggest like nationwide tragedy, and you give everything that you have and you pay almost the ultimate price to where you're just falling like gravely ill from like doing that and putting like your whole self on the line, and then your country that you gave up, like whatever illness you got, you gave that up to give up for this country, and they're not going to pay you back.
Right.
So that's awesome to hear that they got the bill passed, but it's...
Oh, yeah, I know.
So
it's so disheartening to think about.
Do you guys know what the VA is?
Well, the Veterans Affairs?
They have
the same issues with so
things
poorly
like this.
managed.
It's an absolutely terrible system. I had clinicals there a couple of times. Actually, I think I was there for... I want to say I was there 5 or 6 times, 6 or 7 times, something like that. And just hearing the veterans talk about how difficult it is to go to different appointments and get consults and get, the benefits you need, to get proper health care. It's like nearly impossible for them, even though they have this supposedly huge support system and governmentally funded place.
That's sad.
It's just incredibly difficult to navigate.
Oh shit, I hate to detract here, but we have a special guest right now. Our good buddy Michael, who you will see on podcast number 3, just walked in the fucking door. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's up, brothers?
What's going on, Michael?
Michael, come say something into the mic for our guest right here. Let's hear what you got to say right now. There you go. Just right there. Just say something in it. Just introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Michael. I like physics, and the coolest thing that you should be talking about right now is how the Event Horizon Telescope created the first picture of a black hole.
Okay,
that's incredible.
wrong, because the coolest thing right now is John fucking
Michael.
Stewart being a hard ass on Congress.
Michael.
That's the coolest thing, but that is the second coolest thing.
Get a little bit closer to the mic and say something a bit more sensual, because your voice is golden.
Will you give us some ASMR right now? Give us one little hint of ASMR.
Do talk radio.
Hey, this is Kid Craddock in the morning, and I'm here to talk to you about the traffic on the way to Dallas. There's been a fatal car accident.
That's so sensual. Wow, I'm turned on now.
All right, well, thank you, Michael.
My basement is flooded.
The longest
Michael.
we're going to is 11:30. That's just 30 more minutes. So you and Sarah can just kind of chill out, and whenever we're done, we'll hang out. We'll have some drinks. We'll have a good time. Sounds good. So yeah, that is Michael. He's a really good friend of mine. He will be on the next podcast with another great friend of mine, Mark. I don't know if he wants me to use his last name or not, so I'm just gonna say Mark. So tune in for that. They are both dudes who are super interested in science and all aspects of the natural world. Love to hear what they're going to comment on. But right now, this podcast is the only one that fucking matters, so let's get back into it.
Damn straight.
Where were we? Who was talking last? Was me?
We were talking about you were talking about Veterans Affairs.
Yeah, we were talking about the VA.
Yeah. We know someone who was in the system, and I talked to him personally, which it was nothing I already knew, but I mean, he griped to me for an hour, if not more, about how hard it was and the certain disabilities that veterans have and veterans get. But the point is, without rambling about the VA, is Americans are like, oh, I'm proud to be an American, support the vets, this and that, and then we get this,
Yeah.
Right. It's like the things that people are most prideful about, and it's what we really put a lot of our stock and patriotism into, is what's cared about the least, really.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, like he said, one of the things that was a super good point is he was like, there's not an empty chair in this room that didn't tweet out "never forget," and yet they're not fucking here right now. And
right, I feel like that harkens back to what I said, where it's like people are always like, "Oh, never forget," but people do forget.
Yeah, exactly, and
all kinds of
like I said, one thing, because I did a little bit of reading into this, because I was like, "Holy shit, this is heavy stuff about just this situation in general."
Situation.
Yeah,
okay.
just kind of a little bit I could read on some articles in the morning at work, and so apparently it's not actually as bad as it looks right there. So when you see that video, it looks like there's a fucking just an empty Congress. Well, apparently, I think only from one article that I read two different, and they said conflicting things. One said that nearly half was gone, but the other said that one of them spoke later, and it's a 14-person committee, and only 2 were missing. So it's not quite as bad as it looks. However, like I said earlier before I started the video, his point's not mute, because the fact that you have people who are coming down there who are literally sick and dying, they have cancer, and are basically fought for people's lives in the fucking destruction and downfall of 9/11, coming there and showing up sick and in pain, and you have people missing from that hearing, like the hearing that determines if they're going to have health care or not, and the fact that they're missing, that's a huge insult. So I mean, whether or not it's 2 people or half of the people in there, I agree with John. Everything that John Stewart said, those motherfuckers should have been in that room.
That's what's concerning me, is why is John Stewart there? Why is he making it such a big point of people missing, and it's only 2? I just feel like there's something deeper.
I thought that too. He could just be using that as a way to blow it up, to make it bigger than what it should be, which would be justifiable if it was any other kind of situation, really, where it wasn't as big of a deal. But I think that the dramatic effects worked well, and it's a justifiable.
I think it's one of those things that
the ends justify the means.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that either way, I feel like he was genuinely emotional in there. I don't think there's really any doubt about that. I mean, I know he's kind of an actor, but I felt real emotion there. So I'm gonna go on the
premise.
Yeah, on the whatever presupposition. I don't even know, is that the right word?
Whatever.
The stroke. We're having a stroke on air. Yeah, so I'm gonna go off that it was real, but I feel like because he's passionate about it in general. Him being from New York.
I feel like most celebrities just kind of they have their one thing that they kind of get behind.
Yeah. Like Steve Buscemi, Is it
Buscemi or Buscemi?
I say Buscemi. Buscemi. No, Buscemi. Yeah, I say Buscemi. He was, he's from New York, and he used to be a firefighter. And when 9/11 happened, he secretly went and helped out in the effort. He just went and was he just picked up his shit like he was a regular firefighter, and he was helping people out pretty much in the aftermath of 9/11.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so, but I feel like,
why doesn't that man have an Oscar yet? That's another thing.
He's a damn good actor. But the thing is that sometimes And like Ashton Kutcher has become a huge advocate for like sex trafficking and shit like that. Oh, there's our dumbass friends cackling in the background.
Must be a good Mario Party game.
Yeah, I hope so. Better be fucking worth it for ruining our audio.
Yeah, I just think it's funny. Can they hear like the video, like the people watching? Whenever you edit this down, will they be able to hear the video? Like,
what do you mean?
Like when you played it, will they be able to like?
Yeah,
hear it, like,
That's so. You know,
I think it's funny if you can just go back to the video and just listen for like the breaks of silence, and you just hear the subtle laughter and cackling in the background.
It's not even subtle at that point when it's quiet.
I didn't hear it that much.
While Jon Stewart's talking about 9/11 survivors, and then you just hear cackling in the background.
Yeah,
it's just funny to go back and look at.
It's
not funny, but it's kind of funny.
It's whatever.
It's
But
okay to laugh at.
the point is I feel like some of these celebrities, like I said, Ashton Kutcher has become a pretty huge advocate for I think sex trafficking, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Some of these celebrities will use their status in good means. So like that, like
that
John,
goes both ways.
Yeah, it can go bad. However, I do feel like there are people who are genuine about it, like Jon Stewart in this situation.
That felt
whereas
very
he is
genuine.
bringing, because he has this celebrity status, and he is the person that everyone knows who fucking Jon Stewart is. Because he has that kind of icon status, he can bring attention to things that people might have otherwise ignored. Like, for instance, this whole thing would not have passed had it not been for Jon Stewart delivering that powerful speech and him being Jon Stewart.
I'll piggyback on something after you're done with that.
Yeah, that was basically the point that I was making, is that the fact that he made a beautiful speech, it was amazing, but also he is Jon Stewart. Like, you have the previous host of The Daily Show, who, like you said, was somebody who was primarily comedic and sarcastic, getting serious and emotional and getting in there and being like, people know who I am, and I'm about to deliver some fucking shit to Congress right now, and people are going to listen because I'm Jon fucking Stewart. So he has that element of what he's doing will actually have an impact, and I think it's actually kind of important that some of these groups have people like that who are on their side, because, like I said, it brings attention to issues that otherwise may have been ignored, or people would have never paid any mind to because they just didn't know, or quite frankly didn't care. But people are going to care about this because Jon Stewart is a part of it. So people who maybe didn't know it before, they're going to see Jon Stewart's name on it, and the people who are just a fan of Jon Stewart are now going to tune into this video, and anyone who watches it is now going to be like, holy shit, this is an issue, and I had no idea about this until Jon Stewart said something.
And if I can jump in there, just to kind of play devil's advocate a bit, like, that can go both ways too, where it's awesome in the way that he did it, and he used his celebrity status and his ability and his platform to reach a wide audience, and he used it in a great way to bring attention to a cause that needed attention, and it got its attention, and that's awesome. But I think that there's a lot of celebrities too that use their They use their position to be able to push their personal ideals, which would be agreeable to some, maybe not for everybody, but they use their status in society to push it, to make it seem that this is the way it needs to be. And it could be something that's really personal and just more subjective, like you can agree or disagree, but they use how they're viewed to push it as the way that's how society should accept it.
I do agree. I think the most recent example of that would be Brie Larson. I don't know.
Get me started.
I don't know too much about. I have no idea. I've never seen any of the things that she said. So technically, I'm a little biased here, but I'm willing to admit that I haven't seen really anything she said. I've just watched some videos of interviews with her and other people from like the Avengers cast. And one of the things that they asked her in an interview with Jeremy Renner, the guy that plays Hawkeye.
I think I've seen the same interview.
Yeah,
probably.
So one of the things that they asked her was basically, do you view being a celebrity as this kind of mantle that you have to uphold or whatever? And she's like, yeah, you know, the fact that I'm famous, I now have to use that for good, and I have to advocate for things that, or basically just saying like, yeah, now that I'm a celebrity, I have this responsibility. Then they asked Jeremy Renner, and he's like, I'm just a guy. Like, I don't have any responsibility to anyone else. I'm just an actor. I'm not this dude who's on a platform.
If you watch that interview too, you can watch his body language, and like whenever she's like going, she's like
he's literally like,
yeah, he's like just kind of shuddering. He's just like shaking his head.
He's the whole time he's trying like not to say something is what he's doing. He's like shaking, and like I'm not a fucking psycho. I don't know, but that's just what I got from watching the video.
It appears that he looked uncomfortable with the way that she was putting herself forward.
Yeah, and I think that's the most prime example of it. And I don't know too much about what she said, but you seem to have a disdain for her. Do you know anything that she's said?
I mean, nothing like more in particular, but it's just like just very generic, like run of the mill, very far left wing, like ideals where it just kind of goes.
For those who don't know, everyone on here I would claim is an independent. We don't really have a political affiliation of one degree or another. Actually, I don't know about you, Chandler. Do you? What are you?
I mean, we could get into it, but I would, if I had to say, I guess I'd be more right leaning. But I have a lot of left ideas. That
Hey, and you know what? For those listening who have a problem with that, fuck you. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong
politics.
with that.
Fuck 'em.
Fucking people have their own opinions, and it's not an issue. You should listen to both sides. You should hear their arguments. Don't fucking just silence them because they have one leaning or another. Listen to everyone. But I'd say I'm an independent. I can agree with both sides on many things. And Dub, what do you think? What do you?
I'm not educated enough to have a stance, but
well, that's
I'm
really
definitely
that's
more
really good
independent.
to admit too, because I think that a lot of people, and this is gonna get off from
We're gonna
where
jump
we're
into
at.
identity politics if we
Yeah.
fucking start going on that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're about to, but I think that a lot of people don't have the courage or the being able to accept the humility of being able to say, I don't know enough about politics to have a good opinion, so I'm kind of indifferent, and they'll just follow along like, yeah, Trump train, or oh, we need to get the orange man out
My
of the
dad
White
says
House
this,
type
so
of
this is
thing.
what I agree with.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even think that. I don't think it unless you're affiliated with actual Congress or you're voting and like purposefully educating yourself on all these aspects that politics, invites to you. That I lost my train of thought. I don't remember. What did I start with?
Dude, we're the ones who've been drinking, man.
I'm just tired.
Sometimes I
all
start
I
to
need.
finish and I don't know where it's gonna end.
Yeah, some that happened. That's happened to me a couple times.
It did to me earlier, and I tried to play it off really cool.
I don't
Well,
remember.
you must have done it pretty well.
What was my starting point? Then I'll remember.
We were talking about being.
You said if you're not like a member of Congress, you shouldn't so and so.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think like you said, it's just like I'm with this culture. Like I'm a part of this. I'm a part of that. But you really don't have a right to have a say in any of that and be like, yeah, I am this or I am that. And if you're not doing it, with education,
so looping this back around. I don't want to dive too far into this without finishing the first point. So looping this back around, we have different political affiliations. We're not shitting on Brie Larson for being left-winging or anything like that. We were just saying that she's a modern example of just using her political status for advocating for things that maybe aren't necessary or are very agenda-driven. So back to that.
If you're going to be Captain Marvel, be Captain Marvel. If you want to be a proactivist in the social justice field, do that when you're not doing your job as being an actor. You can use both, but if you're there to portray a role in a film, do that and give that your attention. And then when you're not portraying that role, use your celebrity status to push whatever idea you want because you can.
I think that's a very valid.
you.
I think
It's a
that's
lesson to take away.
I think that's a very valid point because like Jon Stewart wasn't there doing an interview for The Daily Show or whatever, and it's like, hey, 9/11, by the way.
He was there as Jon Stewart, a concerned American citizen.
Exactly. That's exactly right. I agree with that 100%. If you're being an actor, be an actor, and then if you want to do that other shit in your other time, do that. Because when people tune into the IMDb interviews, they're not watching you because they want to hear about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this can segue into something that we talked about before the podcast that I kind of want to talk about.
Okay, go ahead.
I just watched like a Netflix series recently.
Oh shit, yeah.
When They See Us on Netflix, and it was pretty good. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to coming up. I think it's June 21st or 22nd.
I haven't seen the date. You were the person who informed me.
I think it's June 21st. We can probably look it up real quick, but
I'm gonna look it up.
The Netflix original series Dark Season 2 is coming out in like a week or so. If you haven't watched it, it's a damn good show.
Dark? If you are let me tell you a little bit about Dark. So Dark it's an original series on Netflix.
Trying to find the release date.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to do. It's an original series on Netflix, and it was originally in German. So that immediately, as soon as you say that, people are going to be turned off by this. But I'm telling you, watch it with the English dub if you're not comfortable with watching something that's not in your native language. Watch it with the English dub. This is one of the best, or if not the best, time travel dramas that I have ever seen in my life. This does this in such a unique and, I would say, logical and as realistic as you can get time travel as humanly possible. This show does a fucking great job of doing a narrative of paradoxes. It is fantastic.
Is there a lot of deep character arc?
Yes, this show.
It's a good mindfuck show.
This show is in depth as shit.
Black Mirror style. Like, kind of give you existentialism, questioning your morality.
Not as quite. I mean, it does have structured a plot line and a story.
I'm saying it's not like, I'm not saying episode by episode, but in terms of the vibe you get or their emotions that are supposed to be provoked.
I think there's definitely some elements.
I was about to say there's some
like
elements
determinism
of that.
And shit like that. Like, how much free will do you actually have? Kind of aspect.
It's more kind of just basic like time travel like plot points where it's do we like change the things in the past, how it alters the future, like type of thing. But it does it very, very well. But anyways,
so so it jumps between three main time points. It's been about a year. It's been over a year actually. It's been almost like a year and a half since I've seen the show. But it jumps through three major time points. There is one in 1986. There is one in 2019, and there is one in is it like the 50s? It's on like a 29-year cycle, isn't it?
I don't remember what the year is, but it's some kind of cyclical cycle like that.
Yeah.
It's not like Memento, is it? Where it's like, oh shit, I gotta watch this backwards and in the middle. And
have you seen Memento?
No.
I tried to seen it.
Oh, Memento's great. I love Memento.
Let's
Shout
see.
out Christopher Nolan. That is
Let's see.
gem.
What was 2019 minus 19 for people?
I don't want to get too far off track either, but we could talk about this show for a while. But Dark season 2 is coming out in about a week and a half. If you haven't watched the first season, now's a good time to get. Well, actually, whenever you're watching this, it might be out by now. I don't know.
1953 is the third one. So Dark is an amazing time travel show. Don't be a bitch. Put on the English dub and watch it. It is amazing. Pay close attention. If you're someone who can't handle attention to detail, don't bother watching the show. You're gonna be bored.
Go watch reality TV.
But go back and watch reality TV.
Go watch Dr. Pimple Popper.
But this show,
intellectuals watch Dark. It's a good deep thinker.
Dr. Phil mindfuck you all day on television.
But anyways, to get back to what I was talking to originally, I watched this Netflix original. It's a miniseries, When They See Us. It's about the Central Park 5, which I don't know if y'all are familiar with the case. I talked to Trevor about it, but it's this group of 5 young black teenagers, like age like 14 to 16, that got picked up for walking around like Central Park at night, and some woman was beaten and raped, and they got arrested for it, and it just like shows like their life like going through the trial, and they got wrongly convicted of it. It's the general idea of it. Spoilers, I guess, but it's already happened. But
based off of true events.
You can't spoil something that happened in real life. Like this is so access to the public domain.
I say that just because I know someone could like watch and be like, oh, I haven't watched that yet, and they just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's true crime, dude. Come on, this is you know what's happening the second you watch it. Anyways, keep going.
I gotta give them a spoiler warning. But what bugged me, and I don't usually like turn things off that often whenever I'm watching it, unless it's just really bad.
And I want to vouch for Chandler, because Chandler and I are what is known as cinephiles. We fucking love anything TV, anything movie.
Wait,
we are.
So you mean bad as in like you couldn't handle it, or bad as in like it wasn't a good watch?
So I'll let him get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to preference this, Chandler fucking loves film and TV, and so do I. Like for us to walk out of a movie, it's got to be the most dog shit thing for it to happen. Like we love TV and film, so for him to turn something off, that means something. So go ahead.
So I watched the first episode, and it was good. It's compelling. It sets up the story and the characters very well. And then in the second part, it gets to after they've been arrested, and it starts getting into and it shows like the actual footage of when it happened in 1989. It shows an interview with Trump. And he's like saying like, this is the reason why we need to bring the death penalty back, like type of thing. And then it just uses that one like snippet, which probably like didn't garner like any attention like back in the day, like maybe a little bit. And then it just kind of goes unnoticed because Donald Trump is just a philanthropist than just being a rich millionaire.
Yeah.
But they use this like in the show to like as like not a plot point, but it's just like a stab, just like a quick stab. And they use it like there's a scene where one of the moms like found out, they're like, a reporter's like, what do you think of Donald Trump calling for the death penalty of your son? And she's like, oh, my baby. It like makes it like really emotional. Like it's compelling in the way they shot it, but there's so much like over like I'd say like probably like 4.5 to like 5 hours of like runtime for the whole show. Like there was a good like 15 minutes just like dogging on this Trump thing, and it's just like one snippet of it, and it's just like everything is great about the show. I loved it. I thought it was really good. But like every time like they just brought up politics for no reason, just to like make stabs at Trump, which is good because he's an asshole and he's a dickhead, and you could poke fun at him when you want. But if you're making a TV show or a drama or a movie or something, like have that idea to make a good TV show and not interject politics into it as you deem fit. It's so annoying.
Was Jordan Peele a writer?
No, he wasn't.
I haven't seen enough of his stuff to really be able to comment on Jordan Peterson's writing style. I know Get Out is good. I haven't seen that.
Jordan Peele?
Yeah. Did I say Peterson?
No, Jordan Peterson wrote Get Out.
Yeah, Jordan.
Well,
yeah, hey, yeah, guys. Jordan Peterson wrote Get Out.
Like,
go watch that.
You
shit.
would just see the guy like being strapped to the chair and be like, "What kind of tea was I drinking? What was she thinking whenever she
subtitles
made the tea?
in Canadian the whole time?
Is that a hierarchical thing? Well, lobsters do that."
Jordan Peele. God damn it.
Speaking of miniseries, dude, I like all these miniseries, like historical miniseries getting pumped out. Did y'all watch Chernobyl?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
I'm going.
Oh my god, dude! Do you like horror films? Like
I love them. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big horror film dude.
I could do a whole podcast on horror films.
The soundtrack.
We'll save that for Harrison. Shout out to Harrison.
The soundtrack and the vibe and the acting, it's portrayed like a horror film, like this.
That's good.
Like almost like a what was the movie with the big ass Cloverfield?
Okay.
It's almost like a Cloverfield type.
Is it shot like found footage?
No.
Okay.
It's a retro style.
It's HBO. It's an HBO series, right?
I mean, it's clear film, but it's got like some filter to it, to where it's HBO. Definitely fucking watch, dude. It's badass. And
I've heard some good things about it so far, so I'm down. I'm definitely down to watch it.
I have like 30 minutes left to watch because I'll probably go home and finish it, but I just watch it at night. Like
I thought about getting into that because I need a good series. Dude,
it's fun. Have you ever looked into any of the Chernobyl stuff?
I mean, I just know about it.
Yeah, that's how I went in on it. I didn't know.
The deepest I've gone is when I was on a sniper mission with Soap or whoever.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. There you go, Pripyat.
Yeah.
Pripyat, that's the name of the city that they evacuated.
Did you know that in Chernobyl there is this thing called the elephant's foot? Have you heard of that?
If you watch the show, you'll know how that became to be made.
Really? Okay, see, I don't know much about it, but the only thing I know, I watched this video about it. It's on kind of like one of those infographic type shows. I can't even remember. On YouTube, it's like a channel. But basically, this thing is so unbelievably radioactive that, I mean, being within a certain distance of it would almost kill you immediately. And there's a picture of a dude standing by it, and it's just like this big mass of shit it's like it's in this room in this basement. I think in the reactor that melted down.
What is it called again?
The elephant's foot.
The elephant's foot.
It's in
this just a mound of like radioactive glob.
So in a sense, yes.
So I don't want to spoil anything.
So it's like when you're on Fallout and like you find like the radiation barrels and like you walk up next to it and you get like 50 rads per second. It's one of those things. Okay,
but
I'm with you now.
But come to life. But come to life, and it's like this thing. And from what I understand, it's like this big mound. It's in pretty much. I think it's in the same. Is it in the same tower that the Fallout happened from? The tower that collapsed.
It's huge facility. It's only one core that ruptured, but yes, it's
but it's in that. So it's in the basement, and so there's this iconic picture of this dude standing by it, and someone took a picture of him.
No, he took the picture of it. Sorry, I don't mean to overstep you, but
go ahead.
Just watch the show and I browse Reddit, and there's people posting threads. They're reposting this picture all over the place, but basically, the radiation is measured in like Roentgens, Roentgens.
We're just gonna say rads for the sake of this podcast.
There you go. Okay, so it's measured in rads.
Yeah, we're gonna say rads.
And they use the clicking noise, right?
Yeah,
that's a dosimeter.
That's exactly what happens in Fallout when you get close to something.
200
and you just inject like some Rad-X and you can walk up right next to it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
That's how
like
he took the picture.
I mean, it makes sense.
So 200 Roentgens, which is like I think 5,000 bananas or something ridiculous, is enough to give you cancer.
5,000 bananas?
Potassium is a radioactive.
Okay,
What
I was
the
about to say.
fuck?
I was
I
about
didn't
to
know
say.
that.
I was about to say is like 5,000 bananas like
Right.
a,
And I'm
like
sure
a correct
Michael-
like unit
Michael's-
of measurement.
That's insane.
They do measure. It's sometimes
never heard
measured
that.
in fruits. They'll measure it in
I've
fruits.
never heard that before.
Michael's probably cackling over there
Yeah,
at
he's
my
over there. He's like,
misinformation.
these fucking puds. They don't know how the world works.
So anyways, you can measure it in bananas, the radiation
I
basically.
wish you guys could
So
see.
I think
that is that's the craziest thing
I
to
didn't
me.
know
Like
that.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's really cool. I'm glad I
Um,
learned that today. Thank you, Dub.
You're welcome. So I think 200 Roentgen is like enough to give you cancer in 5 to 10 years. The room that the elephants foot in, I think, was like 15,000 or 16,000. No, it's some ridiculous. It's like 20,000 Roentgen. It's
I
like
think
decibels.
it's been labeled as the most dangerous room on planet Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, like you're dead within a minute to 2 minutes.
And
with
that guy took a
protective
So that's
picture.
gear.
exactly why the picture thing was so. I haven't watched the series, so there might be more information than I'm aware of. I just know from this video that I watched
It's
about
only
it.
like 5 episodes.
The
if I'm
same
not
guy.
mistaken.
It's 5 1-hour episodes. It's so good, dude. You have to watch.
I'm gonna have to watch it then.
But basically, I think the guy was involved with all these scientists and stuff. He might have worked on the plant. He's like, no, I'm going to take a picture of this core that leaked, I'm pretty sure he was involved, and they were like, no, don't go down there. You're going to die, this and that. I don't want to spoil the show, but damn, everything they did to
Yeah, don't
correct
spoil
this
it.
core is so badass.
Yeah,
But anyways,
I-
the picture, you pull up the picture.
Okay, yeah, I will definitely pull up the picture.
You can do that, but I also kind of want to. You can finish what you were saying, but I also don't want to get sidetracked on when I brought up like the interjection of like politics like into like modern TV shows
Yeah,
too, because that really is concerning to me. Being like, as Trevor said, like me and him are like self-considered cinephiles, and I really enjoy watching
back.
good
Yeah,
quality
I didn't do
movies
that.
and
Why is
TV
this on
shows.
thing?
El Topo.
That's a good one. Alejandro Jodorowsky
That's it right
is
there to the right.
a
one?
great
This one right
director.
That one.
Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah,
like-
this is
they
it.
colored it, and it's inverted. But all of the weird,
I
funky
can't
stuff
even really tell what I'm looking at.
You're
going
looking at
on.
a mound of just like radioactive material. You're looking at some construction worker and some weird fucking flicker that the camera managed to catch.
He looks like he's like. It looks like he died in Mario Party,
shit.
and in Mario, and he's just like floating up or something.
Well, the radiation is so powerful that
It
it
looks like an
instantly
X-ray.
messes with the
the
film
picture
when they
that
capture
makes
Yeah.
sense. Ah, that's
So
crazy.
this
Like
shit
it's
right here.
messing with the light
So this
beams.
whole room that you're looking at right now, for those who are watching, most dangerous room on planet Earth. This room will
is
kill
that the
you.
picture?
That's
Like-
the picture.
Yeah, this
it's
is-
a,
this is
I
the
think
actual
it might
picture.
be a different one than what I know.
So this is
Look,
the thing.
dude. I mean, the guy's like it shows his body right there, and his helmet sitting
See,
right
I
there,
think-
and
I
that's
think
that's his soul leaving his body.
I
Look,
think
dude, he's
someone-
already vacating.
I think that they edited this person to there because you couldn't stand that close to.
Zach's walking in front of the camera. Boom. All right, there we go. He flipped this off.
You couldn't stand that close to that thing and live for that amount of time. It looks like he's shoveling
So
something.
that's one of the things that is a mystery about it. Is they're like, who the fuck is this worker? How is he not dead just being there right now?
Who's taking the picture, and how did
Yeah, there's a whole lot of
the
weird.
film get processed?
And maybe some of the series explain some of that a little bit better. But like I said, from just the small thing that I've seen, this picture itself is a mystery and it's fucking weird. And the fact that it's even taken and these two people in the room taking these pictures and being a part of it aren't fucking dead immediately is like another sort of a miracle.
The Chernobyl kind of relates to your politics interjecting because it doesn't push any agenda, but the real horror of the story when you watch it is just how the Russian government handled.
Well, that's fine too. Like, because if that's like how it happened,
It's how it happened.
Because like in the show that like I watch when they see it, like it shows a lot of like corruption within like the policing field, which is overwhelmingly abundant. And I hate when it gets overshadowed as by how many good cops there are too. But I don't want to get into that. But if that's the way like it actually happened, then that's fine. But when you're forcibly like putting like an agenda into something where it doesn't fit, like just apart from it being just really lazy, it just breaks up like the pacing of your story and everything.
Right.
It
Yeah,
doesn't,
yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It's just I don't know why people do it. like if they have like a good, like if they have good solid work and they've had that throughout the course of like their whole film or TV show or whatever is they're directing, and then they just put this in there, like it just grinds my gears.
Well, it's jarring. The thing about it is, if you're gonna do something like that, the whole point is to make it subtle. If that is something you legitimately believe, you believe that Trump has this huge impact on whatever, either today or back in the day, then it's important to do that in a way that's not going to, that you can make that implication, but it also won't alienate the whole other half of your audience who are watching.
Well, that also kind of calls back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, like how everyone wants things like spoon-fed. So like someone can like watch it now, and then like if they didn't like, because if they would have had it where like it just showed like the snippet of them like calling for like the death penalty of these kids or whatever, like in like real time, like back in the day, and it showed that would have been like subtle enough. We would have caught the undertone. Like, you don't like.
We could have agreed or disagreed with it.
They're just like, he's calling for the death penalty of these kids. Oh, it's all against him. Can you beat the courtroom and can you beat Trump? It's like, I mean, you're not beating Trump. You're just beating like the unjust courtroom, which is justifiable. But it's just, I feel like movies and music and TV and that form of film and musical art should be separated from politics, and that's why we have it, is because it's a way to either escape, or it's a way to make us feel and think differently about like these other realities that we don't always want to deal with all the time. Because if you're constantly in the political world and it's all you're thinking about every day, you wake up and you're just constantly following like these news stories as they keep coming out, like that's exhausting, and it's no way to live. Like, I don't know why you want that put into the things to view. You know what I mean? Like, it's.
I think it's not only exhausting, but it's toxic. I mean, it adds on to the thing we were talking about with humanity and kindness and pity earlier. It just,
if you surround yourself with so much negativity, you're going to be a negative person.
Yeah.
So I'm going to cut you guys off because we have officially hit the 2-hour mark. So what I like to do in this last little segment, or what I want to start doing, is I want to start plugging little things that we all enjoy for the end, for people who, for whatever dumb reason, would respect our opinions. Let's plug a TV show, movie, music, something that we all enjoy, or something that we're like, hey, this is a little obscure, this is what people would like, because we all kind of have an obscure taste and shit. So
Dib's going last. I got to think about the movie.
Okay, he's going to think about a movie. So yeah, let's just all plug something that we like, and then we're going to bring this podcast to a close, because like I said, we're right at that 2-hour mark. Yeah, what the fuck? Does anyone want to go first, or am I going to have to do this?
I have to plug something.
You don't have to.
I already plugged Chernobyl. I mean, okay.
So all right. So all right, that's fair. Dub is plugging Chernobyl. Let's see. I mean, I guess I'm
trying to think of a good movie that I've watched recently.
I'm going to take the low hanging fruit, guys. Watch Dark. Fucking do it.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it when I get home.
Seriously, just put on the subtitles, and B, put on the English dub and watch that shit. It's fucking good.
And I'll say too, in its defense, like if you watch some dub stuff, like how the audio doesn't match up, and it's just really like kind of weird to look at. If it's
very strange, it's very off. Like the audio doesn't sync up well at all.
It's not a whole lot like that. Like if you like, it might take you just like a few minutes to get used to it, but once you do, it's really easy. But
the thing is it's in German, so German and English are like it's the closest language to English. So there are times where the dub and the German parts actually line up pretty well, and you can actually somewhat see that the things that they're saying line up with the.
And just to clarify, if anyone that's confused, the dub it's spoken in English, but it was filmed in them speaking German. So
the lips don't line up exactly. They're
the voice actors of the dub good?
Yeah, it makes sense.
There's not a single person that's like super off-putting, like in some of the anime and shit like that. So Chandler, do you have a dub or anything you want to plug? Or
I'm gonna say, while I find a movie for something that I've recently looked at that I know is good. Ooh, I know what I'm gonna talk about. For music, I would say, if you haven't listened to it, I already talked about it earlier, listen to The Wall by Pink Floyd, beginning to end. It's really good. There's a movie, too. You could check that out. But what I want to talk about is The Wire. That's a TV series that I watch since I got my surgery and I had a lot of downtime and I was just laying in bed playing video games and watching TV all day, I watched that series, and that's one of the best, if not the best series I have watched. It is so good. It's so gritty and so realistic about the drug scene in Maryland in early like 90s or like 2000s, like up to like 2008. Highly recommend. Very, very good.
That's awesome.
It's written and directed by a former Baltimore detective.
Shit. Okay.
A lot of actors that they use. One of them is a priest who is like kind of the inspiration for other characters in the show, but he was like a reformed like major drug dealer turned into like a priest, and they use him as a show, and they use convicted gang like or drug dealers or convicted felons, and they use them as like actors, as like gang members in the show, so it has like an authentic feel to it. It is an awesome show. 10 out of 10. Recommend.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for recommending that, dude. I've been meaning to watch it. It's been on my list. I watched The Sopranos. I know that's up there with it. So does anyone want to plug their social media accounts right now, or?
I'm social media free.
He's saying this man lives like a monk in the modern age.
You gotta cut loose. Just get away from all the BS.
So I guess I'll just plug. So you guys can
Modern Goonies.
Yeah. So you guys, we have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram, and we have a Twitter. So go follow us on all of those at Modern Goonies. I think that's it for all of them. That might be something different, but just look us up. You'll find us. It's a picture of an octopus. You'll see it in the videos. So yeah, go follow all of the Modern Goonies shit. We'll be posting updates about the people that we have on the podcast, about the podcast itself, about the topics that we do. It's just a way to have fun. Go give us a follow. So go follow all of my social media accounts at Trevor King Minor. I've got Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. I have a couple of songs on YouTube and things like that.
Shout out Serotonin.
Yeah, shout out Serotonin, guys. Go watch that. It's with a good friend of mine, Zach, and his girlfriend Viv, and it's a pretty sentimental little piece. So go listen to that shit. So yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the second episode of the Modern Goonies Podcast. Tune in next week for my good friend Michael and potentially Mark. We're not sure. We haven't got a confirmation on that yet, but Michael will definitely be on it, and he's a super awesome dude who knows a lot about physics in the natural world, and he's got just a great philosophy on life, and he's a super carefree and awesome guy, and I'm really excited to have him on. So thank you very much for tuning in. I'm your host, Trevor King Minor. This is my good friend Chandler, my good friend Dub, and thank you so much for watching.
See you later.
Fuck off.